Hi everyone, this is Deekshit. Welcome to my channel. In this particular video, I'll be talking about template functions and pipelines. And in one of my previous video, I've spoken about built-in objects in Helm 3. So please do have a look into that before watching this video. So I'll leave a link in description. And coming to this video, so in my previous video, I've already mentioned, so I've shown you how to place the information into templates by using built-in objects like dot values, dot charts, dot releases, and many more objects I have explained there. Okay, so, but the information is placed into templates is unmodified. So, however, like we want to transfer the supplied data in a way that like it is more usable to us. So for that, what we need to do is like we need to use something called as functions, template functions. So which provided by Helm 3 basically. So we need to use that. And if I want to say an example, so let's say whatever the string that you will get from values.yml. So let's say you should have that in double quotes. Okay. So that time what you do is you can use a quote function, and then you can have a double quotes, and then you can have your string in between that. Okay. So I'll discuss about those example later. Okay. So now the basic syntax of your function should be like this: function underscore name and whatever the function. Like in my case, as I've explained, so quote and the value which it should be quoted. So you need to give in this order. If you have multiple arguments, then you can supply that answer. Okay. And the next one is so in this number I've taken from official Helm document. So they say like it is like 60 available functions. Sorry, I mean it is not only 60. So more than 60 available functions are there. Okay, and some of them has been defined by Go template language. So basically, the Helm is made up of Go language and many other stuff also. So that's the reason. So the Go template language has specified few of them, and if you go for this particular link, so you'll be able to see what all the functions that has been defined by Go template language. I'll leave these links also in description. And most of other are part of like a Spring template library. So as I've already mentioned, so Elm is combination of many tools and technologies like Golang and uh, many other things. Okay, so it uses all the functions which are there in that languages as well. Okay. And the next one is pipelines. So pipelines is one of the powerful features of template language. So, so it's basically a pipe symbol. So if you compare it with Unix, so if you want to transfer the output of first command to another, so you will basically use this pipeline, and you will transfer the output of one command to another, right? So the same concept. So which is the concept from Unix itself. So pipelining is basically chaining. So it's a series of commands will be executed, and the output of the first one will be transferred to the second one, and whatever the output which is generated from the second one will be transferred to the third command. Okay, so we will see the example for this also. Um, and as I've told, more than 60 available functions are there. But in this video, so I'll just discuss about 10 functions so which I've used. Okay. So and also if you want to have a so right now I have only few functions, right? So I'll be updating this particular GitHub page. So which is basically a Helm charts. So this is this particular folder I'll be using for this particular demo to show whatever the video I'm doing, right? So I'll be using this particular folder, and then I'll be executing all the things. Okay, and this helm underscore cheat sheet underscore functions dot md. So this is a file wherein I'll gonna like right now there are only few functions that are there in this particular page, but I'll gonna keep on updating this particular page. So if you want to have a look into in what that particular function does, and so I'll just basically give a brief about a function, and then so the usage means like how we can use it in our templates and the output. Okay, so this is how so I'll be updating this particular page. So if you're interested, then you can fork it onto your account, and then you can have a look at this. Okay, and also so I'll be using this particular folder to explain this demo. Okay, so that particular uh, folder I've already cloned into my Helm cluster, sorry, basically a Kubernetes cluster. So now let's go ahead. I'll just show you. So I'll just show you the files. So I'll just open the same thing in my Visual Studio Code. So this is the basically the template file I'll be dealing with. So if you see here, so I have something called as function.yaml. So which is very simple. So I have so it is basically a config map. If you see here, so the data is very simple. So I have my value hello world, and I have something called as drink and food. Okay. So these are all the things like this YML file I'll be using. And if you see the values.yml, now the value for drink is coffee, and the food is like pizza. Okay. So now with this data we will play. Okay. So now the first function I'm gonna discuss is code function. So what it does, so basically, so let me use this function, and I'll show you. I'll show there only. Okay. So I'll just edit my particular. Okay. So before that, let me run a let me dry run my particular charts. Okay. For that, if you remember, the command is like helm install, and then you need to give, as this is helm 3. So either you need to use hyphen generate hyphen name, or else like you need to provide the name, and then so you need to use the options debug, and then hyphen dry hyphen run. Okay. And then you need to give a chart name. Okay, basically temp underscore functions in my case. So when you run this, so it'll just show you a Kubernetes manifest file how it looks like when you deploy onto Kubernetes cluster. As you can see here now, so values.yml is like this. So I've just taken that and I've referred in my YML. So it is not modified at all. Whatever I've supplied in values.yml, that is what I've got here. Okay. Now let's say I want to have double quotes like this. So as my value is there, right? So I wanted double quotes for this also. Then, so how to do that? So it's very simple. So let me go to my sorry temp folder, and then under that templates folder, and here so functions.yaml. Okay. So here, so what I can do is I can use directly this particular function, which is code. Okay. So we are discussing about the code, right? So I'm just using that particular one. So if you remember, I showed in my slides. So this is how the syntax is functions, and then you need to supply the arguments. Okay. So for this also, let me use, so one we will verify, we will see. Okay. So now again, when I do a dry run, so let's see. Now if you see the output, so it has been changed. Okay. So now the double quotes has been given to a string. Okay. Now we have modified something. So this is what basically the functions does for us. Like whatever the data you're getting it from objects. So I'm just modifying it however you need it. Okay. So now we will do one more change. So the one more change is like, so I said like pipeline, right? So pipeline is basically, so when you use this particular values.favorite.food, so it is basically the pizza, like value of that food is pizza, right? So now you can use something called as pipeline concept here. So pipeline is basically you need to use the pipe symbol. So whatever the output of this one will be sent to the next one. Okay. So in my case, again, I'll use a quote only. Okay. And now when I save it, so when I run a dry run again, okay. So if you see now, so both the values has been quoted. Okay. So this is the use of this function. So if you want to have a double quotes for your string, then you can go ahead and you can use. Okay. Because sometimes like so Kubernetes, like whatever. So if you want to send some environment variable and all, so you need to make sure that it is there in double quotes. So this particular function is like, so you can see in many of the cases. Okay. The next one is a repeat. So if you want to repeat any particular word for a number of times, then you can go ahead and you can use it. Okay. So if you want to show an example, so let me edit my file, and so then so I need to give one more pipe here, and then I'll use repeat. Okay, repeat is a function. When I do this one, when I dry run it again, so as you can see, so it generates a Kubernetes manifest for me, right? So now I should be able to see multiple pizzas. I don't know why it has been printed only once, because if you remember, so I have mentioned you need to give the number of times. So if it don't give, so it assumes for one. So like by default, I guess it is one. So you need to give the number of times, how many times you want to print. So let me give it as 5, and let me save this one, and then we will execute. Did not find. Okay, so let me verify that. So I've just figured it out. So it was failing, right? So the main reason is, if you see here, so in my templates, so I've used something called as first quote function, and then I'm repeating. So this is wrong, right? So whatever I repeat, it should be there in a double quotes. So I can't double. I mean, first quoting the string, and then I'm repeating 5 times. So this is basically which is I mean not allowed. So you need to, if you want to use any functions, you need to use it in a order. Okay. So let's say you are using something called as I'll just discuss about this thing. I mean, like a few more functions we will see, right? So we will see this scenario there also. Okay. So now the issue is with this one is you need to take off this function basically, and you need to put after that repeat. Okay. So that's all. So this solves our issue. And if you use quote now and then just save it, so when you do Helm install, so now it is succeeded. Now if you see, so the pizza has been repeated for 5 times. Okay, so this is about repeat. So if you want to repeat n number of times, so then you can go ahead and you can use this one. Okay, the next one is upper. So upper is basically which whatever the string that you're gonna give, right? So all the characters in that string will be converted to uppercase characters. That's all. Okay, as name says, it is so which converts the given string to uppercase characters. Okay, so we will use that one. So again, so I'll just edit, and then so I'll just use the pipe for this also. So let me take off this one. Okay, and then again, so you need to keep in mind that first you need to use upper, and then after that you need to use quote. Okay, so when I run now, so you'll be able to see all the coffee is in uh, uppercase. Okay, so now the next one is next function is a lower, so which is basically converts, so whatever, if the characters are uppercase, then it is, I mean, it is converted to lowercase. That's all. Okay, so we will again give for this particular one. Okay, so I'll just make sure whatever, if you see in my case the pizza is like uppercase, p is in uppercase. Okay, so we will use that particular one lower, and then if I save it, it should run perfectly. Okay, so yeah, so if you see everything is, so you might be thinking like these things are like, I mean, not useful, but in case of like Kubernetes, sometimes like if environment variable, if someone is supplying, like let's say the environment variable name, so if they're supplying it in lowercase, so then definitely if your application needs in uppercase, then in that case you need to definitely change your particular whatever the value they have supplied. So in that case, this things will be helpful. Okay, so there are other functions also, so depending on your requirement you need to use. Okay, the next one is include. So basically in my case, so where I'm using is, if you see in helpers.tml, So I've declared many few functions. So I've spoken about this helpers.tml in my previous video. So previous videos like uh, wherein when I just gave a brief about all the files. So if you see here, so I've just defined it here. So if you want to call it in any one of the my particular YML files, then I'm using include. Okay. So to basically to get any other templates, YML files onto your templates. Okay. So if you see here, so this is my chat dot selectors labels. This particular value will be there in my helpers.tml. So I'm just calling in my deployment.yml so that like a particular YML file will be included here. Okay. So it is basically importing, if you compare it with Java, so you're just importing some dependencies on your code, right? So then you can use whatever there in that particular dependency like that only. So if I want to take any YMLs, then I can specify here and then I can use it. Okay. So this is about include. So if I want to show it to you, so as you can see here, so labels only, right? I've just showed you in the labels only. Okay, anything like include my chart labels, whatever which is there in my chart label, which is basically I'm calling here. Okay, so this particular YML. So when it renders, it is basically a YML file. So that YML file I'm referring it here. Okay. So then, so this is about include. So if you want to refer any YMLs, then you can come and use it. Okay. The next one is required. Okay, required is basically which makes a particular value should be always mandatory. Okay. So with the example, I'll just show you so how it works. Okay. So let me edit my functions.yml. So let's say here I'm including one more particular variable, so which is time. Okay, so then I'm using colon and then flower breezes, and then I'm just using this required function, and then I'm giving some message. Okay, so supply time value. Okay, and then I'm just specifying here dot values. So I'll just copy paste this one. Okay, I'll just take off this food and I'll just give time. Okay, so now if you observe, so in my values.yml, there is no tag which says like a favorite under favorites. I don't have any tag which has time, right? So when I run this one, okay, so it should fail basically. So as you can see, so it says like supply time values. So then only like if you want to make sure that particular value should be supplied in values.yml, then definitely you can use this particular required function by which we can make sure the value is supplied from values.yml. So if you don't supply, then definitely it will fail. Okay. So let's again go and edit. So what I'll do now, anyway, I'll just change the value here. Okay. So rather than just giving it in values.yml, what I'll do is I'll just change it to food again so that this particular value is there. When I run it now, so it shouldn't fail. It should load me the particular thing. Yeah. So this is how it works. So whenever you want particular value, so if it is not supplied from values.yml, so I can impose a restriction saying like so this value is required. If that doesn't supply, so then you will make sure you will fill your whatever the commands you issue. Okay, so the next one is default. So default function is also very helpful. So sometimes like so let me edit again. Okay, so in case let's say I have something called a city tag. Okay, so something called a city tag, and then I need to check my values.yml. Basically, this value should be rendered from values.yml. Okay. So I'll just make sure it is not there in my values.yml, and then I'll use default, and I'll supply it something Bangalore. Okay. So if you see here, so now I don't have that that particular value in my values.yml, right? This value is not given in my values.yml. Okay. In that case, like if that is not provided, so assume like you need to assume something. So let's say in your case, in real time examples, how it works is like, let's say if user doesn't provide any port, okay, for a variable, so then you need to assume 8080 as your port. So by using this particular function, you can easily achieve it. So when I run now this particular one, okay, so this should, so whatever the city is there, right, it should be Bangalore, because I have not defined in my particular values.yml, right? So now we will do a small change. So what we will do is, so we will try to change, so basically rather than updating values.yml, so I'm just updating here itself. So basically I should update values.yml. So to make it short, so I'm just using whatever the fields are already available. Okay. So when I do this one, so it shouldn't take Bangalore. It should take whatever the value which is there in food, because I've just given that particular value there. Okay. So this is the use of this default one. And indent. So this is basically, so if you see this particular one, so when I say include I've discussed, right? So let me go there. So just called this particular function, right? Include. So now when I say like include, so it will include whatever the YML under this match list. So but in Kubernetes, so basically these are the YML files. You need to adjust like this. I mean, the specific spaces are very important here. Whatever the YML which is under match labels, it should be exactly under T, right? So in this case, like if you say, I have how many spaces, like 1, 2, 3. So basically they have used the tab, I guess. So basically it should be a six spaces I should have. So that is the reason I've just given n indent 6. It's like, so whatever the importing YML, right, it should be indented to 6 spaces. First is 6 spaces, and then whatever the YML you have specified, it should be placed here. Okay. So basically indent and n indent is to create the spaces to arrange your YMLs properly. Okay. So this is the reason we will use an indent. So when I run this particular one, if you see here, so mass labels itself. So mass label. So if you don't give, so let me just take off this one. Okay. So in my values dot not functions. This is deployment. So when I take off this particular one, match labels, and if I take this one off, right? So what it will happen? So this indentation won't be coming. So it says like, okay, some mistake, I guess. So let me correct that one. Basically, no errors actually, so because I've used in a proper manner. Oh, sorry, I just need to. So basically, it might fail because I need to supply in a proper manner, right? So if the Kubernetes file is not proper, so obviously the Helm link, like whatever the linting will gonna happen in the background, right? That is maybe that's the reason it is failing. As you can see, so it says like YML to JSON is not happening, so that's the reason it is failing. So if you don't use this indent or any indent, so it is your data is not indented properly, right? That's the reason I guess it is failing. Okay. So we will just go back and we will just correct it. Okay. So basically in layman terms, if I want to say, so if you want to give n number of spaces before your YAML, so then you can go ahead and you can use. Let me do one thing. So I'll just use indent. Okay. So the next one is I'm gonna discuss about indent. So n indent and indent are same. So one difference is like it basically I mean so whatever the YAML you give, right? So it will start with the next line. Okay. However, it is not that much important, but when you have manifest files ready, so which is very better for reading. So in many cases, like so n indent is used. Okay, so indent, I can give 6. So I guess it should work now. Again, it is a problem. So let me change it to that itself. So yeah, so I've just changed this to indent. So I don't know why it's not working. So that's the reason. So it is always better to use an indent because it will avoid this manual spaces. This is one more advantage with an indent. Okay. So if you use indent, so you need to at the beginning of the line and then it will just map 6 spaces after that. Okay. So if you use n indent, so what it does, if any manual spaces, like if you see here, so already 8 spaces are there. Okay. So it ignores all these white spaces and it just indents to 8 spaces. Okay. So I don't know why it is not working. So, but ideally it should work. I don't know how that particular YML, because I'm calling it from helpers.yaml, right? So maybe that is the reason it's not working. If you call upon from values.yml, so it might work. So I'm just leaving it to you. So that is the basic difference between an indent and indent. So it is always suggested like use an indent or indent. Okay. So and the next one is toYaml. So whenever you're using some function like whatever, so you have something like which is there in your any of other files. So if you want to include that particular YML, so then you can use always a toYaml. So when you generate this particular one, so I mean this is generated. This particular chat is generated basically Helm create. When I give the name, that time it has been created. So that is the reason. So I mean, whenever you say to YML dot, so that will be taken and converted to YML. Okay, and then it is intended to eat. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share in this particular video. So if you like the video, please share and subscribe.